We're about to dive into a world that's all around us, but completely invisible. We're talking about the microorganisms that literally build the world we know. From inside our planet's water, in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on who they are, the incredible work they do, and why, honestly, life on Earth would grind to a halt without them.
Okay, to really get a sense of the scale here, just look at this number. 1 billion. That's how many bacteria can be living in a single gram of lake sediment. That's about what you could pinch between your fingers. This isn't just some random number. It's a bustling, dynamic city of microbes engineering their entire ecosystem from the ground up.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at why water itself is the perfect stage for life. Then, we'll explore that ocean in a drop idea, just how packed these environments are. After that, we'll see what these tiny engines are actually doing for the planet and how that connects directly to us and our water quality. Then we'll take a peek into the lab to see how we study this invisible world. And finally, we'll zoom out to see how the water cycle acts as a global microbial superhighway.
All right, first things first. To really get aquatic microbiology, you have to start with the aquatic part. So let's look at water itself, right down at the molecular level, to understand why it's the absolute foundation for all life as we know it.
You've probably heard this phrase a million times, right? But it's not just poetry. It's a stone-cold biochemical fact. Without water, the incredibly complex dance of chemistry that we call life, well, it just can't happen. Every living thing we've ever discovered depends on it, period.
If you zoom into any living cell, you'll find protoplasm. That's basically all the living stuff inside. The cytoplasm, the nucleus, the whole shebang. And what's it all floating in? Water. It's the ultimate solvent, the liquid medium that lets all the machinery of life move, react, and, live.
See, water isn't just a passive backdrop inside the cell. It's an active player. It's the arena where all those metabolic reactions happen. It's the highway system that brings nutrients in and ships waste out. It even gives the cell its structure. It really is the cell's environment, its transportation network, and its scaffolding, all rolled into one tiny molecule. Okay, so we've seen how critical water is for a single cell. Now let's zoom way out. We're going to see how that one simple rule leads to a mind-blowing density of life in every single drop of water on this planet. Just think about that for a second. 2/3 of our entire planet is covered in water. So we're not just looking at a feature on the Earth. We are looking at the single largest place for life to live. And the undisputed rulers of this massive kingdom are microbes. And this chart just drives that point home. A single milliliter of ocean water, that's about 20 drops, is teeming with millions of microbes. But that's nothing. Check out the sediment on the bottom. Why the huge difference? Well, that sediment is a nutrient gold mine. All the organic stuff settles there, and it fuels this incredible population explosion, pushing the numbers into the billions per gram.
This, of course, leads us to the big question. You've got these unbelievable numbers of microbes packed into every nook and cranny of the aquatic world. So, what are they all doing down there? Are they just hanging out, or are they actually running the show?
Well, as it turns out, they are anything but passive. These tiny organisms are the powerful silent engines that run our entire planet, performing jobs that make all other life possible.
You can think of them as the planet's maintenance crew. They're the decomposers, breaking down everything from tiny algae to massive whales, recycling all those valuable nutrients back into the system. This also makes them nature's ultimate cleanup crew, capable of degrading pollutants. And by forming the very bottom of the food chain and driving those huge elemental cycles, they're the foundation that entire ecosystems are built on. And here's the absolute key takeaway. Without these microbes, the elements of life would be locked away, totally useless. Let's take nitrogen. Most of it is just gas in the atmosphere that plants and animals can't use at all. It's microbes, and only microbes, that can fix it into a usable form like ammonia. They're the essential gatekeepers for the very building blocks of you, me, and everything else.
So let's bring this all down from the planetary scale right into our own lives. Because this invisible world has a huge direct impact on our health, our economy, and pretty much everything we do.
It really is a classic Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde situation. On one hand, you have the beneficial microbes, the good guys. They're the ones cycling nutrients to keep fisheries healthy and even cleaning up our pollution. But on the other hand, you've got the pathogens and other harmful microbes. They're the ones that can contaminate our drinking water, cause diseases in fish farms, or create those massive toxic algal blooms that choke the life out of entire coastlines.
So, you can see why managing this microbial balancing act isn't just for scientists. It's absolutely fundamental to our society. The safety of the water we drink, the success of the farms that feed us, the health of our fishing industry, it all depends on our ability to understand and maintain a healthy microbial world.
Which of course brings up a really practical question. How in the world do you study an entire world that you can't see? How do you manage something that's totally invisible to the naked eye?
Well, one of the most fundamental techniques we use is simply trying to count them. It's called enumeration. The idea is pretty straightforward. You take a water sample, dilute it way down, spread it on a plate with microbial food, and wait. Each individual microbe grows into a visible colony that you can count. Then you do the math backwards to figure out how many were in the original drop. It's a classic for a reason, but, and this is a big but, it only counts the microbes that are happy to grow in a lab, which is actually a tiny fraction of the total.
Because just counting doesn't tell you the whole story. Modern labs now have this amazing molecular toolkit. We can now use techniques like DNA sequencing to read the genetic code directly from a water sample. This tells us who is there, even the vast majority of microbes that we can't grow on a plate. We can also hunt for the DNA of specific indicator bacteria, like E. coli, which warns us about potential contamination from sewage. It's a whole new level of understanding.
All right, for our last section, let's pull the lens all the way back out again. Let's look at the biggest picture of all and see how these tiny organisms manage to travel all over the globe.
We all learned about the water cycle in school, right? But it's so much more than just water moving around. You should really think of it as the Earth's circulatory system. It's a massive, planetary conveyor belt that's constantly moving water, nutrients, and yes, microorganisms all around the world.
And in this constant, looping journey, microbes are always hitching a ride. They get kicked up from the soil and ocean spray, travel up into the atmosphere with evaporating water. They can even become the tiny seed around which clouds and raindrops form. And then they fall back to Earth in rain or snow, landing in a completely new place. It's a planetary distribution network for life itself.
And that, right there, is really the final, biggest idea to take away from all this. The movement of water is what physically stitches together every single ecosystem on the planet. It's the master cycle that carries the raw materials and the tiny microbial engines that drive all the other cycles we and all other life depend on.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. If these tiny, invisible organisms are the true engineers of our planet's ecosystems, what does that mean for us? It means that by watching them, by tracking how their communities change, we might just have one of the most powerful early warning systems for the future health of our water and of our entire world.